Hi, everyone. My name is Tim Martin, and today I will be talking about Toyota Motor Corporation for this strategic activity project. This presentation will be broken up into two parts. Part one will be a video covering approximately half of the material, and part two will finish this out. So the strategic business area that I'll be discussing today is the Basic Transportation SBA. Characteristics of this SBA would be vehicles used for basic transportation and really just economical and economical transportation and economical utility. So some of the basic cars that we'd be talking about, just as an example from Toyota's standpoint, would be their Toyota Corolla, their Toyota Yaris, or even their basic Toyota Tacoma. And just to clarify on the Toyota Tacoma, I'm not talking about a four-wheel drive or off-road style Tacoma. What I'm talking about is a two-wheel drive, probably like something you'd see in four-cylinder, that's really just meant for basic utility for work. So the needs that are being served by this SBA is really, I think, highlighted well in this picture. It's really just to get people from point A to point B. So some of the needs being served are reliability, basic transportation, utility, commuting, economy, affordability, and basic comfort. It's really just a basic car that's going to get the job done. The customer type we'd be talking about would be working class, typically somebody that's just commuting to work or needing a vehicle that's going to get the job done for whatever the basic job is. So in the case of the Toyota Tacoma, this could be transporting tools, or maybe even just transporting some light equipment. For the Corolla, this would be just getting the individual from home to work. There's going to be limited needs for family transportation within this vehicle itself. This vehicle is really more oriented towards just getting the person from work and back. So the customer type would be economically minded, lower to middle class, and we probably see a lot of blue collar and white collar individuals within this SBA. So a little bit more about the strategic segmentation. It really just needs basic technology. So we're talking about basic stereo, basic safety, basic comfort features, nothing overly complex. And really, this is, again, just a vehicle that's going to get the job done. What we'd see within this SBA as well, for the geographic region being served, is going to be primarily cities, but there's going to be quite a bit of rural uses for this basic utility vehicle, because it really transcends a lot of the needs that are required across the country. So you might see this in a lot of rural areas. People just needing a vehicle that's going to be able to commute them long distances, or be able to transport some equipment to work and back, that kind of stuff. The current environmental turbulence is rated at a 3.0. And so this is pretty much right down the middle of environmental turbulence, but the composition of this SBA's environmental turbulence is pretty important. From a complexity standpoint, we're talking about a 5, which is global and socio-political in nature. Incremental, slow novelty to change, comparable to response for rapidity of change, and extrapolable for the visibility of the future. Instability is going to be low in this SBA, because it's really there's really not a lot of discontinuities that we would see typically within this, because the vehicles are so basic in nature. So a little bit more about this current environmental turbulence. The most important element of this, I would say, is the global socio-political turbulence level for this SBA. And because this is going to be the major source of discontinuities that we'd see, these could be political discontinuities in different regions, government intervention and regulation. Examples for the United States might be the EPA's regulation. What we saw with Volkswagen was pretty profound example of this, where they essentially tried to cheat the EPA. And so those are the kind of major discontinuities that we'd see from a global standpoint. The novelty of change in this SBA is going to be incremental, slow. Major changes in this environment are really less frequent in nature. For example, it took years for these vehicles to go from non-power windows to power windows, and non-power seating to power seating, and we'd still see that these are optional features for the car. Visibility in the future is generally extrapolable, with future changes generally being predictable. There are going to be few surprise discontinuities with this SBA. We wouldn't typically see that many surprises in this marketplace. There may be some technological surprises, But in general, these are going to be extrapolable. We'll be able to, the automobile companies will be able to reasonably see what the competition is going to be doing in this area. Rapidity of change for Toyota is comparable to the response. An example of this would be Toyota and Honda both rounding out the frames of their Corolla and Civic models within a year or so of each other. So you see that that the response is generally in line with one another, and sometimes you'd see Honda being a little bit faster, and other times you might see Toyota being faster. And just as an aside, I'll be comparing Toyota to Honda a little bit more in this presentation, just because of the competitive nature of both these firms. These are really Honda is really the closest competitor to Toyota. So for the purposes of this presentation, I'll really be focusing a lot on Honda. But what's really important, I think, here when we get to the strategic diagnosis is that the future environment appears to be shifting more towards in between a 3 and a 4 from its turbulence level. And this is based on the novelty of change shifting over towards a 3, the visibility in the future becoming less extrapolable, more towards the predictable range where the companies can generally still predict what's going to happen, but it's not as easy to predict the responses of competitors and the environment in this situation. Instability was a low, but I think we're going to see a shift over towards medium for this SBA, just because of the global sociopolitical element or turbulence for this SBA. And I wanted to give also an example of the current environmental turbulence in this SBA. So on the left-hand side, this is again comparing Toyota to Honda. On the top picture, you see the 2000 Toyota Corolla's interior versus the 2010 Toyota Corolla's interior. And what you see is that this is generally the same thing. The only difference here is that the 2010 model is more streamlined looking, looks a little bit more, a little shinier, a little nicer. And you'll see the same thing in the bottom picture here with the Honda Civic. So in 2000, the Honda Civic's interior is overwhelmingly similar to the 2010 Honda Civic interior. Just looks a little nicer in 2010. So we don't have a lot of surprise changes in this market, but there are some examples of future environmental turbulence from a technological standpoint that I think we can see more of in the future, and that's going to be examples like this. We've got a touchscreen monitor here in the Honda Civic, and this is going to be an example of the type of change and the rapidity of change that we're going to see in this SBA as the technology comes down in price. Currently, this technology is becoming more and more affordable for integration and even basic transportation models. So the strategy aggressiveness of Toyota with regard to its environment is rated at approximately 3.0, and this is based on their degree of change being in between incremental slow and incremental fast. It's incremental slow in the sense that this SBA doesn't demand a fast response, but Toyota is also a little bit faster in a lot of cases than the competition. So it's rated right in between 2 and 3 for their degree of change. The timeliness was rated as faster than competition because generally what we'd see with Toyota is that they are faster than the competition, Honda being their closest competitor. But Toyota in general will respond faster than much of the competition for their timeliness and their ability to respond to the changing environment and the changing needs of their customers. The mindset is going to be on future opportunities for Toyota, and we'll see this in the next slide. There's an example, a really clear example of how Toyota has capitalized on this. So in this graph, we've got the price of gasoline from 1970 to 2012, and importantly, what we're looking at is this area right here where the gas price is on the precipice of an exponential increase. And you can see that in 1999, right before the gas prices shot through the roof, Toyota introduced their Yaris model, which was their most economical non-hybrid vehicle that they've introduced to date. And then Honda in 2001 introduced their Fit. So you can see that, which is the most comparable model to the Toyota Yaris that Honda has. So you can see that Toyota in this case was a little bit faster than Honda, and they were looking for this future opportunity to provide a more economical vehicle for transportation. So that concludes part 1, and next we'll go into the latter half in part 2.